Well, today is National Military Spouse Appreciation Day, and here on Morning Rush, we're honoring the wives and husbands of U.S. service members. Right now, there are roughly 1.8 million active duty military spouses and 5.8 million surviving spouses of veterans. President Ronald Reagan established Military Spouse Appreciation Day in 1984 to celebrate those who keep households together while our service members are protecting the homeland. In 1999, Congress officially made the Friday before Mother's Day Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So in celebration of this day, the Armed Forces holds special events to honor military spouses, including the Military Spouse of the Year Award ceremony. And here with us today is the overall 2022 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year, Sarah Streyder. Thanks for joining us. She's the founder of Executive Director of the Secure Families Initiative. Good morning to you. So each branch of the military has its own Military Spouse of the Year. However, you were honored as the overall Military Spouse of the Year. Congrats to you. But what was your reaction when you received this honor?
I was surprised and humbled, to be sure. There are so many talented military spouses who are up for the award this year, and I strongly encourage everyone watching today, look up their names, look up the issues that they're passionate about. They're an extraordinary group. And most of all, at the end, I felt ready to get to work. The purpose of this award is to elevate the lived experiences of military families, for our decision makers, for our civilian neighbors. And I'm so excited to see what we do together as a team this year on that effort.
Yeah, what an honor. So your husband is a member of the U.S. Space Force. Can you describe what life has been like married to a service member?
Yeah, it hasn't always been easy.
Yeah.
Certainly over the course of our relationship, both together and within the military, we've had our ups and downs. We like to say that when you're connected to the military, you better put your plans in pencil because it's going to be up to the DoD what gets put into ink. But it's also been an extraordinarily rewarding experience. I've gotten to see how my connection to our armed forces gives me different insights into the trickle-down effects of things like national security and foreign policy decisions, because those are things that may feel a world away to my civilian neighbors, but they impact me and my friends directly at home. So I'm grateful for the experience and eager to elevate those stories.
So in a 2019 poll conducted by Penn State, unemployment, service members' time away from their family, and their children's education are the top issues among military spouses. I mean, when you hear those topics, it's very understandable. So what has been your biggest challenge, and what can be done to help?
Well, I like to joke that I had to start my own nonprofit in order to get myself a job, because when we moved assignments from Nebraska to Virginia a handful of years ago, I had a long period of unemployment that was extraordinarily painful and demoralizing. It's a problem that affects a higher proportion of military spouses than it does our civilian counterparts. And there's a number of reasons for that, but I think what we can do is, kind of twofold. First of all, it's educating civilian employers about how awesome military spouses are, how hireable they are, and all of the transferable skills that our experiences have given us. But it also requires approaching lawmakers about what policy solutions can we pursue together, can maybe make this a little bit simpler. And I know that there are some great bills on Capitol Hill that a lot of my colleagues, Hiba Abdullah, to get a specific shout out, have been working on tirelessly for years. And if we were to pass certain pieces of legislation, that would just make it a whole lot easier for military spouses to find jobs.
So in that same survey, nearly half of active duty military spouses are satisfied with the military lifestyle, and nearly 60% support their spouse continuing to stay on active duty. So how important is it for service members to feel support from their husband or wife or whoever may be at home here in the States?
I'm glad you specified. Not every military spouse looks like me, first of all. Mm-hmm. We have husbands and wives and non-binary partners and spouses, gay, straight, everyone in between. So thank you for pointing out the diversity of our community and how widespread and representative of the country as a whole we are as a community. But you talked about the importance of family support at the home. When it comes to recruitment and retention decisions, things that are important for an all-volunteer national security force, those decisions start at the kitchen table. And so it's always going to be of utmost importance that both the DoD as well as policymakers keep in mind the quality of life issues that are so important to recruiting and retaining the topmost talent to serve in our armed forces. Because when you get a troop, you get the whole family unit.
So for the partner of a service member who may be watching right now, whether they're going through a tough time or maybe they're just starting out with their significant other being deployed, going through a hard time right now, what would be your advice to them watching now?
First of all, I get it. I have been there. Secure Families Initiative, the nonpartisan nonprofit that I founded, came from two really low moments in my own life. Number one, when my own service member was deployed in 2018, and I was at an auto repair shop waiting for a big check engine light bill to land on my lap. And I had a complete meltdown because I was overwhelmed by all of the things that I had to do on my own while my service member was half a world away. Not to mention all the news alerts I kept getting about danger in that theater and not knowing whether he might be put into harm's way. So it was out of that feeling of stress and lostness and uncertainty about how current events were impacting my family that drove me to found a nonprofit that would help educate and inform a community, all of us going through it together. How can we better understand foreign policy, current events, and how it connects to our lived experiences? And then second, I mentioned my unemployment stint and how frustrated I was that military spouses weren't being told how they could be voters and advocates to push public policymakers to improve the situation. So that's what we attempt to accomplish at SFI, both pushing military spouses to be their own advocates, to be voters, and specifically focusing on national security issues.
Wow, awesome. All right, Sarah Streyder, the 2022 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year. Thank you for all that you do. We appreciate your time this morning. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.